LinkedIn. This is a two-part series on how to effectively use LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, you can go, find, and be found. First, why LinkedIn? LinkedIn has 360 million users. Members of LinkedIn represent 200 countries, 3 million companies, 39 million students, 18 million recruiters. 77% of all jobs posted are actually posted on LinkedIn. To participate in LinkedIn is very simple. You just go to www.linkedin.com. Everything that we're going to share with you in this training you can do with a free account. You can pay extra for a premium account, but it's not necessary. The second step is find, but we're actually going to start with be found. The reason, as you're on LinkedIn and as you find people to connect with, they are going to look at your LinkedIn profile. So a good first step is to create a very good and compelling LinkedIn profile, so you can be found by those who are looking to connect with people just like yourself. In October 2011, we had our first Power to Become conference on the BYU-Idaho campus. One of the speakers was Christopher Galbraith. He indicated that there's two ways to network. The first way is the farming approach, and the second is the hunting approach. A second speaker at Power to Become was Spencer Taggart. Spencer Taggart talked about telling your story, and he also talked about how everything communicates. Your online presence using social media will be seen by people, and if you're smart, you can effectively use what you portray online to tell your story and to communicate the message that you want to deliver. People will look at what you post and what you say and your profiles in such areas as Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. All of those communicate a message, and so you should be strategic as you think about what you want to portray to people who might be looking for you. In this presentation, we're going to focus on LinkedIn. Here's some more statistics about LinkedIn. 1 in 5, or 20% of LinkedIn members are actually recruiters. 97% of recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates. So your profile may very well be seen by a recruiter at a corporation, a company, or others. In contrast, in comparison, 27% of recruiters use Facebook, 22% use Twitter. There are 25 million profile views each day, which is 9 billion views a year. So in reality, what you create and publish on LinkedIn will be seen. So let's talk a little bit about the farming approach of networking. Another way to look at the farming approach is from the movie Field of Dreams, which the actor Kevin Costner portrayed a person who built this baseball field with this statement out in the middle of a cornfield: "If you build it, they will come." When you build your LinkedIn profile, it will be seen and people will find you on LinkedIn. So the question is, how can you use LinkedIn as a strategy to tell your story and to communicate the message that you want to communicate? Initially, as you start school, your LinkedIn profile will be a good way just to tell people about yourself and what you're considering, your educational goals, or the decisions you're making. Later, your profile can be used as a tool as you seek for internships and as you seek for employment opportunities. So let's start talking about this approach where you're going to build something, this farming approach that people are going to come and partake of what you've created. So let's look at Ariana Mevs. She is a student that we've helped as she's built her LinkedIn profile. As you build your LinkedIn profile, there's what we call the top box. On the top box, there's some very important things. The first is your name, but second is your headline. This is your LinkedIn headline. Most BYU-Idaho students, it will say BYU-Idaho student. What you need to do in 120 characters or less is craft your headline to say what you are or what you're aspiring to be and what you're seeking. In Ariana's case, she says talented freelance copywriter and editor seeking opportunities. This could be aspiring mechanical engineer seeking mentors, or BYU-Idaho honor student, business major seeking internships. So craft this headline to say what you're about and what you're aspiring to be. The second is your picture. Your picture should be your face, smiling, professionally dressed. We've posted some examples of students that we found on LinkedIn that we would recommend that you don't post. For example, some engagement photo or a selfie or something that's cropped out of focus, a missionary picture. These are pictures that really aren't going to sell yourself. Another fact is if you have a professional picture, your profile is 11 times more likely to be viewed if you have a picture. So your picture, your headline, is going to give a first impression, and it's like a me in 5 seconds, where people can learn right away who you are and what you're about. Now, as you build your LinkedIn profile, you'll be prompted to add sections. The next section that most people will have is their summary. Your summary is me in 30 seconds. This is where you're going to tell your story, talking about your skills, your ability, what you're seeking, what your goals are. This shouldn't be too long, it shouldn't be too short. You want to make sure that there's no typographical errors, that it's well written. This is something you'll want to have somebody proof so that you can make sure this is telling someone what you're about. The next section for most people is their experience. Now, experience is typically jobs that you've had. Well, if you're a student, you maybe don't have multiple jobs in your area of study. But you can list things that are roles. A role could be BYU-Idaho student, communications major, or engineering major. We recommend that you participate in the academic societies on campus. So this could be the Accounting Society, Public Relations Society, Healthcare Administration. List those roles. But these are roles that you will use to show what you're about and the experience that you're gaining in your field or your area of interest. The next section that many people will have is kind of logical is your skills and endorsements. Here's where you're going to list talents that you have, abilities that you have, skills that you have obtained or are obtaining, and people can endorse you. You can also move these in different order. So if you see here on Ariana's, if she wanted to have public speaking number 1, you can manually move that to the top. Now, there are other sections on LinkedIn, but we're not going to talk about all of these, but you should build out your LinkedIn profile as much as you can. And as you build these out, you should add information that will help tell your story and what you're about. Sections include education, volunteering causes. Volunteering causes is a great place to put your missionary service if you've served a mission. Projects, publications, personal information. Other areas not listed here would be recommendations, contact information. All of these are really helpful. Now, the reason this is valuable, again, remember that 18 million people are recruiters. 5% of the people on LinkedIn are actively seeking people like you. So an example would be, here is someone that's looking for a BYU-Idaho person. You can see they're under school, and they're looking for a copywriter. Well, that brings up 100 people. Number 1 on that search result is Ariana. She's number 1 out of 100. Now, it's not likely that a recruiter is going to pour through pages and pages of profiles. They're probably going to stick to this first page. And Ariana, who's positioned herself as number 1, page 1, is going to have more opportunities to be contacted, recruited, sought after. So the question is, how do you get to be number 1 on page 1? Well, it's actually fairly complicated. LinkedIn has made it so it's just not on keywords. Many people would kind of cheat the system and they would list a keyword like marketing or copywriter or editor or engineer hundreds of times on their page to move up the list. So what LinkedIn does is they say, no, keywords do count. And if you look at Ariana's profile, she has the word copywriter in her headline, in her summary, throughout her education and her experience and recommendations and skills and endorsements. That'll help move her up the list. But she also needs to have a complete profile, meaning she's filled out all the sections that she can. She needs to be adding the number of connections that she has, and she needs to be active on LinkedIn. So in Ariana's case, when I did this search, she shows up number 1. Now, if I was to search for Ariana a month later, she might be 2 or 3 because maybe she's had a less active time on LinkedIn. So if you're actively looking for opportunities, if you're seeking opportunities, you want to make sure that you're on LinkedIn every day, posting things, adding connections, updating your profile, and then you'll stay at the top of the list. This is important because recruiters do actually go out and actively seek BYU-Idaho students and BYU-Idaho graduates and alumni. Now, a little tool that you can use to see how your LinkedIn profile is telling, what kind of message it's telling, is to create a word cloud. You just simply go to wordle.net, www.wordle.net. The link is on this slide. And you copy and paste the information, the words, from your LinkedIn profile or from a resume or a cover letter, and then Wordle will create this word cloud. So this is Ariana's LinkedIn profile text, and you can see that there are 2 words that really stand out: copywriter and BYU-Idaho. That's what she wants. If copywriter, which is what she wants to be known for, is a really small word, you will want to go back to your profile and add that word more times until it shows up how you want it to show. Another tool that allows you to be found is what's called Decision Board. This is a high school senior who created a LinkedIn profile, and you can see on Decision Board that that he's looking at 2 universities and 3 fields of study. And so when people click on his profile, they can see that he's interested in anthropology, archaeology, illustration as areas of study that he's considering, and he's looking at 2 schools, Idaho State University and BYU-Idaho. Well, people who get on LinkedIn can look at your decision board, and perhaps this person is someone in illustration. They can reach out to this young man and say, hey, I'm in illustration. I could be a mentor, or I can tell you about my career, and we can make a connection. So decision boards are a relatively new tool and an effective way to have people reach out and connect with you. Now, as you build your profile, here's some LinkedIn profile mistakes that you should avoid. The first one is you should be connecting with lots of people. And don't be afraid to connect with people who are recruiters in staffing and human resources at different companies. You should be connecting to people who are looking for you. And you should also be out connecting to professionals who could become mentors and support your search and as you're looking at different opportunities. The second mistake is you don't have a profile photo. As we mentioned earlier, make sure that it's a good photo, one that shows your face smiling, professionally dressed. Now, we didn't mention it before, but every Tuesday on the BYU-Idaho campus from 1 to 5, we do take LinkedIn pictures for free in the Manwaring Center near the Lost and Found information desk. So if you're on campus, put on a shirt and tie or a nice top if you're a young lady, and we'll take your picture. We'll email it to you for free. Another mistake is you have a boring or generic headline, or a headline that contains typos. So make sure that you have a clear headline, one that states what you're about, what you're aspiring to be or to do, and what you're seeking: opportunities, mentors, internships. And number 4, your profile lacks the right keywords. If you want to be known for copywriter, and like in Ariana's case, she needs to have copywriter throughout, and your profile isn't public, or you're not on LinkedIn. So make your profile public. Make sure it is what you want it to say and is telling the right story, that it's well written, that there's no typos, that there is the information you want to share. Now, another way to determine or to make good connections or to be found is to join groups. There are thousands of groups on LinkedIn. There are groups related to companies. There are groups associated with universities, with majors, with hobbies. A good way to be found is to be active on group. So here's an example. This is the Zappos shoe group. And there was a BYU-Idaho graduating senior who was very interested in Zappos. So he joined this group and he posted articles, he commented on people's posts, he liked people's posts, and over time people began to notice, especially people working at Zappos Shoes, of his interest in the company. And so they reached out and they actually offered him a job. Well, this gentleman's name is Darren Caldwell, and this is a picture of his LinkedIn profile. And you can see that Darren is now the Zappos Social Ads Senior Coordinator for this company. One of the great values of LinkedIn is you can learn from professionals. You can learn from people who are doing what you hope to do. And by doing that and by contributing to a group or different groups, people can get to know who you are and they can actually connect with you. Here is a list of groups that we would recommend. The first one is we would invite you to join the university group, just Brigham Young University-Idaho group, which is approaching 20,000 members. It's very active with comments, job postings, questions that students or alumni might have. Every department on BYU-Idaho's campus also has a group. So here's just an example. You could join the BYU-Idaho accounting group if that's your interest. We recommend also participating in the BYU group, BYU Management Society. LDS Professionals is a very active group. And then there can be groups of a special interest. This example is just a picture of the social media marketing group, which has almost 1 million members. So once you join that group, all of a sudden you have 1 million new people to connect with, but you also have 1 million new people that you can learn from. There are a couple other really nice tools on LinkedIn that will help you be found. One is what you will find right on your home page. When you click home on your LinkedIn page, it'll take you to some posts, some information, but this top area will have your name. It'll have a place where you can see people who have viewed your profile and connections that you've made. But you can also share an update, you can post a picture, or you can publish a post. This would be a little article that you've read, and people will read them, and it's a great way to be discovered. Also, as you go to this place, you can click on that little number that shows how many people have viewed your profile in the last 3 days, and it'll bring up some information. One is you can see some statistics about your activity on LinkedIn. Who's viewed your profile, who's viewed your post, how you rank for profile views. So in this example, you can see that on that week I had a very active week. 147 profile views, 12 actions taken. And then I can also go in and see who has looked at my profile, and I can send them a message or reach out and connect with them. Now, if you really want to be an expert on LinkedIn, the LinkedIn has provided a really great resource that you can access at university.linkedin.com. When you go to university.linkedin.com, you'll want to click on the button that says See All for Students. And here you'll find almost about 10, and it's growing, tip sheets and checklists. So here's some examples. There's a profile checklist. There's some 2-page, each of these are just 2 pages long, trainings on how to build a student profile, how to network on LinkedIn, finding a job or internship, communicating, tailoring your profile to your goals, building your personal professional brand, and using the alumni tool. There's also a series of videos that will help you as you improve your presence on LinkedIn and seek to be found by those people who could be looking for you. It's just a really, really great resource. So let's conclude this training with what happened with Ariana. Remember, Ariana is someone who came to the alumni office and wanted some help with her LinkedIn profile. The Academic Discovery Center also offers training. The Career Networking Center, as part of the ADC, will do the same as well. And these tools will also be offered to our students who are online. She just said thank you. She wanted to let me know that she'd been sought out via LinkedIn several times and had gotten quite a bit of work that way as a freelance copywriter and editor. It's because she came up in the search first, and that's thanks for showing the tricks. And thank you. Well, LinkedIn is a really great resource to be found. And remember, there are recruiters who are out there looking for students and alumni. So if you want to really tackle this well, using the farming approach, make sure that you build a compelling and LinkedIn profile that tells your story and communicates what you're seeking, and it will be a great resource as people are looking for talent just like you and the abilities that you have to offer. Thank you, and good luck as you network on LinkedIn.